Hello everybody, Simon Dixon here and welcome to episode 23 of Bank to the Future Live. Today we're going to be going through our new roadmap plans and we're also going to be going through a Trello board that we're going to be sending public next week. And this Trello board is really our attempt at trying to communicate better with everybody around our roadmap and what we got coming up at Bank to the Future. So just before I get started, for those of you new to Bank to the Future Live, I often give content around crypto, economics, banking, the financial crisis, and the latest in the Bitcoin and crypto markets. But this live stream is once a week just for investors of Bank to the Future, or some of our portfolio companies that may be following the Bank to the Future ecosystem. Maybe you're a Bank to the Future token holder and you want to understand a bit more about how you can use the token and the utility of the token. Or maybe you're an investor that's building a portfolio on BnkToTheFuture.com. Maybe you use the Bank to the Future wallet, or maybe you're just interested in progress on the Bank to the Future ecosystem, or maybe you're a company that's considering joining our portfolios, applying for funding and joining the ecosystem. This show is just for you. And really, we go through approximately half an hour, sometimes goes over to 40 minutes of content. And the main features that we're going to be going through today is obviously new pitches that are live on the platform, new investment opportunities for qualifying investors. Then we're going to go through the updated Bank to the Future roadmap and how you can get involved in helping us shape the roadmap and what you'd like to see next, here to serve. And then we'll move over to your questions. So if this is all going to plan, we should be live on YouTube, in which case you can use the live chat, and Irvin is here moderating. Irvin is from our pitch management team, and he's part of the investment committee that works with companies, so they're going to be listing on our platform and also deciding which deals go live. He'll be moderating today in Famida's absence. And if you've got any questions, just use the live chat. If you're watching the recording on YouTube, then use the comments and we try and go back to the previous videos and find questions for next week as we go live each and every week. Maybe you're watching us on Twitter, in which case you can see this. If you've got a question you would like answered, then use the hashtag BFLive. That's hashtag BFLive. And someone from our marketing team will try and pick that up as well as the moderators. Finally, you might be in our Telegram channel. The Telegram channel was created during our token sale, and the Telegram channel is at BF_token. You can ask any questions in there. Finally, you might be on our Facebook page, the BnkToTheFuture.com Facebook page, and we'll try and pick up any questions you've got there. So we're trying to reach as many of our investors in the medium that they prefer. And so we're going to go and jump straight in to the content. So just before I go over to a screen share, I'm going to cover some of the pitches live, what we got coming up. You'll notice that we had currently on the platform, for those of you that are new to BnkToTheFuture.com, we have two types of pitches. Those that are open just to premium members and those that are open to all qualifying investors on our platform. To find out whether you qualify is unique to each jurisdiction. Register on BnkToTheFuture.com. We'll walk you through the process. As you go and visit pitches, we'll let you know if they're open to you based upon where you reside and your country's securities laws. When you go and view investor pages, it will walk you through the qualification process, and you just need to select who you are and appropriately verify or certify yourself accordingly. But also we have pitches which are just open to premium members, and premium members means that you have staked a minimum of 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens. The ticker symbol is BFT. If you want to find an exchange that supports and allows you to purchase Bank to the Future tokens, then head over to coinmarketcap.com, put in the ticker symbol BFT, and it will tell you all the exchanges when you click the Markets tab where you can purchase Bank to the Future tokens and which ones are the most liquid. But if you hold a minimum of 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens, you can do two things to become a premium member. Either you can head over to the fund section of your BnkToTheFuture.com account and deposit 10,000 Bank to the Future tokens. And when we go through the roadmap today, we'll be telling you about some new exciting developments we got there. Or you might be somebody that is a fan with cryptocurrency, comfortable storing your own private keys and don't want to deposit tokens with us. In order to do that, you can just go over to the App Store on iOS or Android, download the BF wallet, the Bank to the Future wallet, and you can hold a minimum of 10,000 tokens on your Bank to the Future wallet. And if you connect that to your BnkToTheFuture.com account within the wallet, we'll know that you hold them, but you can maintain the private keys, and you can use that in order to gain access to your premium membership. So deals that we've currently got live for all qualifying investors is we're in the final week of CoinFirm, and CoinFirm is a somewhat timely company that has been working for a number of years on automating the process of exchanges complying with the anti-money laundering, know your customer requirements, and doing everything that a crypto exchange will need to do in order to comply with new rules and regulations. The reason it's particularly timely is because the Financial Action Task Force has recently come out and increased the bar of which crypto exchanges need to comply to and meet some of the standards that banks and securities businesses like Bank to the Future might have to adhere to. So CoinFirm produces KYC, anti-money laundering, and theft detection software for companies and crypto exchanges that need to comply with those requirements. And they just smash through the funding goal. So the way that our platform works is you have a minimum funding goal. In order for any deal to go through, the company has to meet the minimum funding goal. For CoinFirm, that was 1.5 million. They had a total funding goal, which is 1.7 million. And once the company hits the goal, they have a choice of either closing early and collecting the funds, or going into overfunding, selling more equity at the same valuation. So you obviously don't get diluted as an investor in the round. And CoinFirm is now into overfunding. I think they just passed 1.85 million. So congratulations to CoinFirm. But it also means once they're in overfunding, they can decide to close early if they choose. So if you decided that you're a qualifying investor and you wanted to invest in CoinFirm, then best to do that sooner rather than later, and use the investor zone to ask any questions that you might have. So the CoinFirm team can answer those for qualifying investors. A deal that's only open to premium members is a secondary allocation of blockchain.com equity. Blockchain.com is the largest self-custodial crypto wallet, the largest and oldest in terms of size. And they have lots of other different services, but one of the most established companies in crypto with, I believe, maybe I've got this wrong, so please don't rely upon this, do a little bit of checking, but I believe that they've got over 40 million wallets at this stage. So hugely important company in the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem. In terms of announcements of deals coming soon, we're currently working with about 5 to 6 deals, but 2 that we're happy announcing is Edge, which is created a way of, it's a crypto wallet, but it's also, you notice that when you register with wallets where you own a private key, it's got a somewhat unnatural process of you writing down 20 or 25 different mnemonic phrases. And those are encrypted versions of your private keys, which means that you can back up in case you lose the wallet or the device. And that's exactly how the Bank to the Future wallet works, the BF wallet. Edge has come up with a way where you can just do that with a more natural username and password, but still they've tried to achieve and maintain some of the high levels of security around that. The other that we're happy to announce is Concrete. Concrete is a rebranded company. It's an equity crowdfunding platform for real estate. They've been around for several years. They've done about $40 million of real estate funding deals. They've recently announced, and they'll be announcing to Bank to the Future investors, their new security token platform, security token issuance platform, and also their partnership with BnkToTheFuture, which we'll be very happy to announce once that pitch is ready to go live. Quick update, we've had to make some changes to our platform in order to meet some new additional requirements for US investors. So while we're working on a new escrow system in compliance with US securities laws, unfortunately, there's going to be several months where US investors won't be able to invest in any pitches. We do apologize for that, but we need to adjust to the new regulatory requirements, and we're in the process of making those changes right now. So the next few pitches won't be open to US investors, unfortunately, but we'll look to address that as fast as we can so that US investors don't miss out on too many deals while we're making some adjustments to comply with some new escrow requirements for US investors. So those are the two that I'd like to announce. And now I'm just going to head over to our screen share, turn off my camera so that we can start some of the portfolio news, some of the updates, and also go through the new planned roadmap and how you can be involved in helping us shape our future roadmap and what you'd like to see. So I'm just going to switch over to the old screen share now. And at the same time, I'm going to switch my camera off. And Irvin, please interrupt me if you can't see my screen right now and let me know. But otherwise, I'll just carry on. So just while I'm here, we're on the BnkToTheFuture.com platform. One thing you'll notice is that when we have a new announcement, we don't put all of our announcements here, but we have a closing soon or newly launched pitch section. As soon as you log in big writing, you can either ignore that and just head over to what you were doing, or you can click here and then once you've clicked it, it won't notify you again until we make a further announcement. And so here you can see CoinFirm. When I was describing it earlier, you can see the minimum funding goal is displayed here, the total number of investors, the type of product. So this is a convertible note. And when you click on it, it takes you over to our FAQ page in case you want to learn a bit more about how a convertible note works and how it converts into equity. Also, in previous episodes of BnkToTheFuture Live, I went through all of the different products. I can't remember exactly which episode it was, but there's one where we went through all the different ways of investing in crypto companies, whether it be equity, convertible note, SAFT, IEO, utility token, security token, and SPVs and all the different ways of doing that. So check out previous episodes of BF Live in order to find that. And also it will tell you that we've got 3 days left on this pitch. It's now up to $1.85 million. And that was the total goal. They've decided to go into overfunding. But remember the rules, they could close at any time if they choose when they're in overfunding. The other place to check out is we're still in beta on our secondary market. But our secondary market is where in beta you can buy and sell shares in the largest companies in crypto. At the moment in beta, we've got the BitPay SPV, the Kraken SPV, the Ripple Labs SPV, the Coinbase SPV, Circle SPV, and Bitfinex SPV, which is the one that has more liquidity than all of the others at this stage. But as soon as we come out of beta, we'll be pushing that a lot harder. And remember, if you own BnkToTheFuture tokens, you get a really good incentive that you get 50% discount off all your trading fees just by depositing some BnkToTheFuture tokens to your BnkToTheFuture.com account. And then you can get a 50% discount on those trading fees. And approximately 65% of all the trades in beta, liquidity is low at the moment. But once we start launching fiat deposits and pushing it out of beta, then we'll be looking to increase the volume, and we'll see what effect that has on some of the discounts and premiums to those underlying companies that's done through our SPV. If you want to learn more about the jargon busting, what SPVs are, how it's all structured, I think it was BF Live episode 21, where just head over to our YouTube channel. You can see all our Bank to the Future live episodes. Hit the subscribe button if you want to receive notifications every time we go live. You can head over there and you can see there was one where we went through all the terms in plain English for those that want to learn more about how the platform works and how to invest in crypto companies. Anyone looking to raise funding, then you hit the raise finance. This is where you can apply. And also you can get a link here to the BF wallet that we talked about, available on iOS and Android. So now let's head over to some of the portfolio news before we head over to the roadmap content. So interesting announcements. Circle is, last week they announced that they're opening up fiat deposits on one of their acquisitions, which is Poloniex. Poloniex is a crypto to crypto exchange and part of the holding company Circle owns Poloniex. And so Circle is now moving their exchange operations outside of the US because they feel that it allows them to do better business outside of the US and open up to a wider pool of customers, while there's regulatory uncertainty around the classification of tokens in the US. There's obviously a case which is a really important case to watch, which is KIN versus the SEC. KIN is a token launched by the KIC ecosystem, and the SEC and KIN are going to be going head to head in court to determine whether their token is a utility token or a security. And I think that's going to be a really important outcome for all, so that everyone can move on and determine whether it's going to be done, these things are going to be traded on security token exchanges, or whether they can continue to be traded on cryptocurrency exchanges if the SEC determines that some of these tokens are in fact utility tokens. So that's a really important one to keep an eye on. But anyway, Circle announced that they're kind of fed up of waiting, and they're taking some of their services offshore so that they can continue business while the US figures out exactly what its regulatory updates are going to be. Just going to take a quick water break. And we're done. Other portfolio news. So if you're a qualifying investor and you want to purchase shares in the Circle SPV, remember how it works. You head over to the trade section. The way that it works is you're not becoming a direct shareholder in Circle. Rather, you're buying a special company that we've set up, that we manage, and every share in that company is backed by one share in Circle. We hold the shares in Circle on our balance sheet, and then we make a market in the SPV for those that want to buy and sell those, subject to all your local jurisdictions lock-in periods. In beta, the only way to purchase is by actually depositing, heading over to the fund section of your account. At the moment, heading over to the US dollar wallet, and you're able only in beta to deposit some Tether there. You can enter the wallet that you'll be sending it from and the amount you'll be doing. Once you've got those on your account, then you're able to trade on the secondary market. If you want to get 50% discount on trading fees, then deposit some Bank to the Future tokens, head over to an exchange, purchase them, put them on your Bank to the Future account, and you're able to use those at a 50% discount when purchasing some of the companies on the secondary market. What other news do we have? So we did the Circle news. Let's cross that one off. We've also got some updates from Bitfinex. So Bitfinex has had an ongoing court battle with the New York Attorney General Office, the NYAG. And the reason that the New York Attorney General Office is getting involved is because there was a situation with Bitfinex where they borrowed up to $850 million from Tether, which is an affiliated company that runs the stablecoin USDT, which is by far the largest and most liquid stablecoin in the crypto industry, and supports most of the crypto-to-crypto exchanges like Binance, which allowed them to grow at such a fast rate because they didn't need to deal with banking, and they were using Tether essentially as their way of allowing people to deposit dollars via Tether. And so Bitfinex was essentially becoming the bank to most of the crypto-to-crypto exchanges via Tether. And therefore, that's at one stage they have billions locked up in Tether. And they, through some banking challenges, they had to use a payment processor in order to make many of those payments and meet their obligations. And the company was Crypto Capital, and Crypto Capital got itself in trouble with some governments. Governments have seized some of those funds from Crypto Capital, which left Bitfinex in a situation where they had to do an emergency plan. They launched a Leo token in order to plug the gap, and they borrowed funds from Tether. They've started repaying those now. But the New York Attorney General Office determines that they wanted to take jurisdiction over this and make that a public disclosure and a warning to New York investors. But Bitfinex is stating that they do not do business in New York, and therefore the New York Attorney General Office does not have jurisdiction. And we have been making the documents available for those to, so we make sure that all that information is available to those that want to do research. But that's a bit of an update. They're stating that the only New York customers was as a result of foreign New York companies or entities, and you can read a little bit more about it. But also an interesting turn of events was that the New York Attorney General Office claimed jurisdiction because companies that are based in the US, such as Poloniex through Circle, prior to their relocation, and Bitrex were using, these companies have Bit licenses, which is a license with New York in order to operate a crypto business. And they use that in order to state that because people were using Tether on Bitrex and they were from New York, or on Poloniex and they were from New York, therefore they're claiming to have jurisdiction over Bitfinex. And it's an interesting scenario for those of you watching that. We will watch and continue to disclose as more information prevails itself. But there's been a lot of volatility on the Bitfinex share price, the Bitfinex SPV share price. It started with a low of $1, reached a high of $16, and is now trading somewhere in the middle. There's buy and sell orders around about $6 or $7 for the SPV stock. You can check that out by heading over to the secondary market. You can get more details here on the valuation information you can use. You can also see all of the OTC people that are looking to buy and sell from each other that we can facilitate through the platform. You can see the volume, the price history, and a history of all the trades there. You can also head over to if you are an existing investor, then you can go to the investor zone, which is where it's a public discussion just with investors. Or if you're a qualifying investor, you haven't invested yet, then you can use the discussion. And here's where you can download some of those documents and public disclosures around the Bitfinex scenario and situation, and ask questions and engage with the community should you choose, or simply get more information about the company and their history and some of the investors and who's involved on that page, or just head over to the market. So that's the news on Bitfinex. We've covered that one. Also, Ripple Labs. So, people either love and hate Ripple Labs. If you're from the UK, you'll be familiar with an analogy around Marmite. Marmite is an advert that was aired in the UK, and the campaign was all around you either love it or hate it. And I think Ripple is one of those companies that you either love or hate. But one of the things that make Ripple a very interesting proposition is that Ripple Labs are the largest holder of the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap, on coin market cap, which is XRP. And XRP is looking to be used through their XRapid solution, in order to create more disruption with companies like Swift, allowing banks to make faster and more efficient messaging service for international payments. International bank transfers is one of my pet hates, disgusting system, one of the most horrible, horrific pieces of technology that exists in the world is the technology like Swift used to make international bank transfers. Money gets lost all the time. It can take months and weeks. It's expensive, it's clunky, it's disgusting. I hope Ripple Labs can make a difference there using a cryptocurrency in order to put together different technology. But purely from an analysis perspective, they at one stage owned up to 60% of all the XRP, and they have this ability to sell XRP to institutions and pull in like this almost $250 million of revenue from selling some of their XRP positions. The effect that that has on XRP, the cryptocurrency, is a bit questionable because there's such a large supply owned by the company that they can sell off at any stage, subject to their fixed release schedule, which they published. But the equity is hugely interesting because at the moment, the valuation of their XRP position, if we can go by the public records of how much they said that they own, is worth many more times than the valuation of their equity according to the last funding round. So that creates a really interesting scenario where XRP token holders, obviously the more they sell, the more XRP is in the market, but also the more valuable the equity can become as a result. So let's look over here. If you look at the trade section, you can see the Ripple Labs SPV. Just to recap, you're not buying shares in Ripple Labs, you're buying shares in a special company that owns shares in Ripple Labs that we set up. And for every share in the SPV is backed by one share in Ripple Labs. And this prevents all of the problems around being able to make such shares available before becoming a public company to our qualifying investors. But if you check out over here, you can see a bit more details on the number of shares. Then you can combine that with the price on the secondary market to kind of give an estimation of valuation. And you'll see that the valuation of Ripple, the company, is currently at a discount to just their value of their XRP holdings. Obviously, the value of their XRP holdings is very volatile, and we have to go off public information. Obviously, we don't have access to all the information because these shares don't come with information rights. But it creates an interesting scenario in terms of the value of the actual equity should that ever be exited in the future to some kind of bank looking to get into the ecosystem. But it also shows the value in equity, and the difference between tokens, cryptocurrencies, and equity is obviously you get less liquidity. There's liquidity on the BnkToTheFuture secondary market, but it's not highly liquid like a cryptocurrency. But you actually get the underlying value of the company, which holds the tokens. So very interesting scenario to watch. But the announcement is that Ripple Labs has sold 250 million of XRP in Q2 alone, amid a spike in institutional buying. So that's interesting. In other news, we had Yahoo Finance did an article, and not everything was accurate in this article. So there were some mistakes. It's not 100% factually accurate, but it's still interesting to get another person's and journalist's perspective on what we're doing at BnkToTheFuture. But they talked about our little, we sometimes often think that we're one of the best kept secrets in crypto, given our client list and our portfolio list. But we've always played it very careful at BnkToTheFuture, and that's why we've been around for so long. because we make sure that whenever we're doing marketing, we're not doing a Justin Sun from Tron. We're doing we're trying to ensure that there's long-term compliance in what we do, which often means that not everybody has heard about us, but we're making 2 big announcements over the coming months that will allow us to increase our ability to reach more investors compliantly as a result of a couple of announcements that we'll be making, which also coincides on when we're looking to come out of beta on the secondary market. So you can check out that article. It was an interesting read. So as I said, some of the things were not 100% factually accurate, but you can check that out for yourself and make your own assessment. And then the final thing I want to do before we start going through some of the Q&A is show you our Trello board. So if you are on YouTube right now, please use the live chat, get your questions ready. And I'll endeavor to go through those before we finish the content. If you're on Twitter, use hashtag BFLive. If you're in Telegram, @BF_token, let us know your questions. And if you're on Facebook, add a comment underneath this video, and we'll try and pick up those questions. But just before we do that, please also like, share, comment. If you're, even no matter where you are, always head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, press the bell symbol, and this way YouTube will notify you every time we go live for BF Live, and some other mini broadcasts that we'll also be doing throughout the week, probably starting next week, and some other initiatives we've got coming up. So this Trello board is something that we'll be publishing and making available. It's got some of the history around our roadmap, some of the earlier years, but also what we're planning and what we got coming up. Many people think, well, I'd love to see this feature on BnkToTheFuture. And we take all of that feedback on board, but now we want a more real-time way of doing that. And I'm just going to show you how this Trello board is going to work and how you can have your inputs for when we actually do go live with this on our roadmap. So firstly, you can see the entire past of previous years. We just added many of the things that we put when we did our BnkToTheFuture token sale launch. So you can see some of the history dating back to 2010 all the way through to 2018. But once it hits 2019, we break it down into quarters according to our roadmap and goals. So just to review here, in Q1 2019, we added the Coinbase SPV to our beta secondary market, as well as the Circle SPV. We also launched, wow, I can't believe it, it's 23 episodes now, but in Q1, I believe we launched BnkToTheFuture Live, our weekly show that you're listening to right now. And we also launched the BF wallet, which in phase 1 was actually integrated with BnkToTheFuture.com, so you can connect your account and hold your tokens in a self-custodial way as well. In Q2, I can't believe that Q2 is over. I thought we were still in Q2. But in Q2, here's what we achieved. We launched the phase 1 of the BnkToTheFuture identity. The BnkToTheFuture identity is going to allow you to, through a separate application, register your certification as an investor that can engage in security tokens or buying and selling in securities, or your KYC, know your customer, identity verification. We're having some new integrations whereby you're going to be able to take a picture on your phone with a selfie, take a picture of your passport, and get verified within seconds rather than days, so that we can speed up. And in phase 1 of the BnkToTheFuture identity, we launched it for organizational corporate accounts. That's live on BnkToTheFuture.com right now in beta. Companies can sign up and get their companies verified. And so the idea and the goal of this is that in the future, you'll be able to use that on other platforms, and you can use your certification status, your verification status, and many of the processes a securities business has to adhere to in order to be compliant with anti-money laundering obligations. You'll be able to take that data and use it in other platforms using the BnkToTheFuture identity at some point next year. But we started phase 1 with organizations. We also did the acquisition of altcoin.io, which is a self-custodial cryptocurrency exchange that we will be rolling out throughout this roadmap and rebranding as BFX, the Bank to the Future exchange. And that will be a self-custodial version of BnkToTheFuture.com for trading Bank to the Future tokens with different cryptocurrencies, and also the security tokens. So it's mainly predominantly a security token exchange. We also added Ethereum support, Tether on Ethereum, Bank to the Future tokens, and Bitcoin support on the BF wallet. And you can get a bit more details by going in here and seeing some of those things. What else did we do? We did some more updates and new features on the secondary market to add charting and a deeper integration with company pages, investor zone forums, and public discussion forums for qualifying investors. We added new NDA features so that it's more clear what information you can share when using the platform, and also watermarking documents to protect companies from documents being shared. Here's more on the BF token. What else did we do? And we did a partnership with Blockstream on the liquid security tokens. So we're really excited about what we'll be doing with that as we get more adventurous. And we launched the Ripple Labs SPV. I believe either we did it in Q2 or Q3. We also did the BitPay SPV and the Kraken SPV on the secondary market. So then we can head over to Q3 and that's now where we are live, what we're working on right at the moment. At the moment, we're working on deposit and withdrawal automation. So just to give you a little bit of background, I know that many of you are used to using cryptocurrency exchanges where things are very fast. The reason we haven't been able to get the same speed as a cryptocurrency exchanges for deposits and withdrawals is because as a securities business, we have a higher bar of regulatory requirements that we have to meet than a cryptocurrency exchange. That's all going to change with the Financial Action Task Force announcements, where cryptocurrency exchanges will have to adhere to some of the regulatory requirements we do as a securities business and even as a bank for cryptocurrency exchanges. But that has meant that we haven't been able to automate our deposits and withdrawals in order to do manual checks in the middle. We're really happy to announce that we've been working behind the scenes on many of the processes that we can automate those compliance checks to dramatically speed up deposits and withdrawals. And those are going to be due to release in Q3 2019, this quarter. So we're really excited about bringing that. As part of that, we'll also be completely revamping and redesigning the fund section of your account. I'm not sure if we've got an image here, but we'll be adding that before we go live so that you can see the new designs for the fund section. We're not happy with our user experience and how it looks right now, but we've got that scheduled in for a revamp. We'll also be launching phase 2 of the Bank to the Future identity solution, which is once we've finished all automation of many of those securities compliance processes we have to implement, we'll be allowing individuals to register through the Bank to the Future identity solution as well as organizations. We did launch the BitPay SPV on the secondary market and the Kraken SPV this quarter. And so those are the main things that we're currently working on and we'll be releasing in Q3. Now, remember, these things are subject to change. We often get things that we need to fit in, and that delays certain things we've been working on. It's not an absolute promise, but we wanted to communicate better things we are working on. Before we do Q4, I'm going to take a quick water break for a second. And we are over to Q4. So in Q4, we'll be launching phase 3 of the Bank to the Future identity, which is integration with global broker dealers and securities businesses. So in phase 1, the Bank to the Future identity is integrated with Bank to the Future, our Cayman Islands securities business. But we'll also be announcing US broker dealers, EU regulated companies, so that we can really achieve global compliance over time through the Bank to the Future identity. And then you can take those registrations with regulated institutions, depending on your jurisdiction, and engage in different security token products as the Bank to the Future identity solution becomes more and more useful. We'll be looking at integrating Touch ID onto the BF wallet so that you can just use your thumbprint or your iris if you're using an iris phone, using Touch ID for the BF wallet to make it easier to sign in. We'll also be working on integration with Omni. Omni's a bit annoying. It's a legacy protocol that was built on top of Bitcoin, and Tether used it because it was really the only way of creating a token back then. Since then, technology has advanced a lot with things like the liquid side chains, RSK, Rootstock, one of our portfolio companies, and also Ethereum-based ERC20 and other protocols as well. But still, Tether on Omni is the most amount of volume, and it's an important integration that we have to do. So we'll be integrating Tether on Omni into the BF wallet and revamping, finally, big requests. We can't wait till we can release it, but the portfolio section of the BnkToTheFuture.com platform at the moment is not very useful, is clunky, is ugly. We know it. We look forward to making it a lot prettier, having nice pie charts, giving you more analysis so that you can really dig into the value of some of the funds on the platform as well as the portfolio. So we really can't wait to launch that, but we'll have to wait till Q4 with some of the priorities and goals. These are just behind the scenes. We have to do a lot more in terms of making your experience better, but these are the more publicly viewable things that you'll be interested in. In terms of Q1 2020, that will come around in no time. I can't believe how fast things move, especially in crypto. But we'll be looking at launching a closed alpha of the BF exchange. And the BF exchange is where we'll be using the altcoin.io technology that we acquired, rebranding it, and doing some integrations ready for the alpha launch. The goal is Q1 2020. And for the alpha, it will be around a cryptocurrency exchange, just self-custodial with Bank to the Future token as the base pair, so that we can make it more easy for people that want to acquire Bank to the Future tokens and buy and sell those so that they can use them for the utility. We'll be looking at doing that on the alpha release of the BFX. We'll also look to complete our wallet integration, Bank to the Future wallet, BF wallet, with Liquid, so that we can start issuing liquid security tokens. We think that Liquid, which is a Bitcoin sidechain built by the Blockstream team, we think that it's going to be big in the security token market, and we're looking to get ready for that so that we can give our customers more choices as security tokens become a bigger thing. We're also looking at launching out of beta the secondary market. We call it version 1. And we've got a couple of requirements for version 1 of the security token, the secondary market. The first is fiat deposits, which is going to be launched in this quarter. And the second is we'll be taking and categorizing 3 different types of SPVs on Bank to the Future. There'll be SPVs, which is the current ones, which are open to all qualifying investors, the largest companies in crypto, like the ones we have in beta. The second type will be a closed, internal, restricted secondary market, which is companies that haven't performed to the level of becoming household brands yet in crypto, but will be allowing buyers and sellers, that existing investors, in order to make a market with each other. But it won't be open to new investors. It only opens to new investors once they reach a certain level of progression. Excuse me, taking a quick water break. And the third category is the companies that haven't been performing. We won't be using the secondary market as a way to, dump companies that aren't performing well. Excuse me. There will be some that won't reach the secondary market. And unfortunately, that's one of the inherent risks of investing in private equity. The investment either fails or it succeeds, and it's more like a binary bet. But with the secondary market, I guess that introduces a new third alternative. Just going to take a bit more water. My throat is suffering. Okay, and then more digital signatures so that when you register through the platform, you can actually sign with your signature. Q2 2020, I'm going to go through these fairly quick so we can get to the next phase. Launch BFX into beta, which will be a cryptocurrency exchange, is self-custodial, integrated with the BF wallet and integrated with the BnkToTheFuture ID and the BnkToTheFuture token as the base pair. Then we got the BF wallet integration into BFX and the BF identity integration in BFX. The target is to do those. And remember, we're also at the mercy of regulations. You cannot forecast how quick regulators will act. And we're patient. We've been here before, but sometimes regulations can change all of these goals. Q3 2020, also launch of BFX as a security token market beta. So that's the main goal of the exchange, is to be able to take security tokens and equity-backed securities and tokenize them so that they can be traded on BFX. And Q4 2020, BFX full launch once we've done our cryptocurrency beta with BnkToTheFuture token as base pair and our security token exchange. Then we want to push it a lot further. Other sections on the Trello board worth looking at is we've added here future ideas that we haven't scheduled into our roadmap. Feel free to add to these, comment on these, and let us know what you'd like to see. Things like automated fiat currency conversion to US dollar and cryptocurrencies so that you can trade on the secondary market rather than having to go to BFX if you want to trade against security tokens against Bitcoin and Ethereum and other things. We've also gone here on all the current uses of the BnkToTheFuture token integrations. So we've got the token usage here, integration into the Coinbase wallet, the Exodus wallet, the Trezor wallet, coin payments, allowing merchants to do it. So you can see some of the current things. And finally, we got here areas where you can comment on our different products and things that you'd like to see. So you can add suggestions for what you'd like to see on BnkToTheFuture.com platform in terms of also some of the suggestions for the BnkToTheFuture token, the BnkToTheFuture wallet, the secondary market, the BnkToTheFuture identity solution, and the BnkToTheFuture exchange. So that's the plan. As I said, disclaimer, all of this could change. That's just what we're planning. Regulations can change everything. The crypto market can change very quickly. But we're just trying to be more transparent in terms of some of the things that we're working on. And I have gone way over time, but we have still 10 minutes left to do the AMA and go through some of your questions. So for that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and put my camera back on. And Irvin's going to pull out some of the questions, hopefully from the live chat. Let me just exit screen share. Great. Irvin, can you see me?
Yep. Chris.
Great. Okay. So if you've got some questions, let's go with the first one.
Sure. Okay, so the first question is about Liquid. So can you explain more about the Liquid and the Lightning Network?
Oh, that's a big topic. What I'm going to do is I am going to divert that question over to my Twitter feed. If you follow me on @SimonDixonTwit or go to my personal YouTube channel, Simon Dixon, there was one video where I went through everything you need to know about scaling Liquid, Lightning Network. It's too big a topic for me to cover at this stage. But what I can cover in relation to how Liquid relates to Bank to the Future. At some stage, we're interested in potentially turning Bank to the Future token into a multi-chain token. We think that Liquid is a prime contender to take some of the token supply. And it's a side chain built upon Bitcoin. This implementation was built by the Blockstream team. And I think that they're going to do some really interesting things with security tokens that will be integrating into the Bank to the Future wallet and also the Bank to the Future exchange in the future would be our plans. It's a side chain, which means it has all the security of the Bitcoin blockchain, but it's its own blockchain as well. And it's got more privacy features and functionality for important features on security tokens. Other thing to say, just before we go to the next, you'll notice the change of scene. I am currently facing the sea at the moment, but this room that we're in today is eventually going to be the studio. But unfortunately, it's going to take a long while to build. So I'm just showing you what it looked like before we turn it into the full-blown studio for our future episodes of Bank to the Future Live.
Okay, so next question is about the security token exchange. So on the security token exchange, will only qualified investors be able to buy and sell security tokens, or anyone and everyone can buy and sell security tokens without any investor qualifications?
Unfortunately, that would be in breach of the law. There's no one that can allow any investor in the world to invest in a security token regardless of whether they qualify or not. In order for that to happen, you'd have to disrupt security laws all around the world globally. So over the years, each country has come up with their own securities laws of who's allowed to purchase and buy securities. We will open it up as widely as regulations allow us to, and we've got some really interesting announcements that we'll be making over the coming months in terms of opening it up to a wider audience. But it would be completely illegal to allow anyone, regardless of qualification, to trade securities, purchase securities, or engage in securities token offerings. So we're not willing to go to prison and risk our company in order to allow that to happen. But what we will do is what we have been doing ever since 2010, when we were lobbying regulators in order to open up the market to a wider pool of investors, which led to America implementing the Jobs Act, which then led to other countries widening the pool. And we'll continue to do that work. And whenever there is a new type of investor based upon that country you reside securities laws that's allowed to invest, you can ensure that we'll be opening it up as widely as possible, because we would like as wide a participation as we can, but we still need to adhere to securities laws globally around the world.
Okay, so we got a BF Live chat question. So can there be an automated email if there has been a price increase or decrease in the SPV on your personal portfolio, like notifications?
Yeah, very good idea. Very good suggestion. We'd love you to add that to the Trello board as a suggestion. I think that's a great feature. Irvin, if you could make sure, follow up that we get that in our dev roadmap at some point as a feature so that we can figure out when to schedule in something like that. Fortunately, we can't commit to a time frame. It's a great idea. Sounds like a really important thing. But yeah, we haven't got that in the roadmap as it stands.
Okay, great. Next question. What is the difference between a 506B and a 506C pitch?
So in the US, this only relates to US investors. If you're not from the US, we don't put you through our US broker-dealer or US securities laws. We'll put you through a different process. But if you're based in the US, then you need to understand the difference between a 506C and a 506B pitch. A 506B pitch means that a qualifying investor can self-certify and state and agree that they are of an accredited investor. And an accredited investor means that it's either verified by a third party in terms of certification. I've jumped ahead of myself, actually. So with 506B, you have to have had a relationship with the platform for a minimum of 30 days. You need to have done your verification, and we need to have established a relationship with you. But if that is the case, then you can self-certify and state that you are a qualifying investor, if you are a qualifying investor, an accredited investor, and then you're able to invest in pitches. The restriction on that is we're not allowed to market those and do what's known as a general solicitation. 506C is, and again, that only applies to US investors. 506C as a US investor means that the pitch can be marketed as widely, and you can solicit as widely. You can go on TV and discuss it if you choose, obviously subject to all the disclosures and compliance, but only fully certified qualifying investors, accredited investors rather, can actually invest in that pitch. And what that means is that we have thousands of US certified investors, but only they can invest in 506C pitches. If you are self-certified, you can only invest in 506B pitches, provided you've met all the other criteria. The criteria for certification as a US accredited investor, again, this is only to the US, your country may be different, is that there's 3 ways of certifying. Either you get your accountant, broker-dealer, lawyer, or third party that's qualified to do that, to download our template, send them the template, and they can say that you are a third party authenticated accredited investor. Or you can upload proof that you own $1 million of assets, or you have an income and you submit your tax document showing a tax return or income of $200,000 or more as an individual, or $300,000 of joint income with your spouse or partner. So the difference between 506B and 506C is that you have to be certified to invest in a 506C, but they can solicit and market more widely. With a 506B, you can invest as self-certified, but you have to have a 30-day established relationship with us, and we can't market it beyond the platform.
Okay.
So time for one more question, Irvin.
Sure. Okay, one last question. Can you explain a little more about BFID Phase 3 and how will it benefit the investors?
Okay, so Phase 3 is where we are building a network of broker-dealers, whereby if you go through that broker-dealer and you have an account with that broker-dealer, it means that you're going to be able to invest in a much wider pool of securities and products in the future. So BnkToTheFuture.com is a niche platform for investing in the future of finance in fintech and crypto companies. We had to develop an incredible amount of processes in order to be able to achieve a compliant process for allowing qualifying investors to invest globally. Those processes turn out are very useful for the security token ecosystem, and they can be used by other platforms like BnkToTheFuture Exchange and BnkToTheFuture Wallet, and any other cryptocurrency exchange that might want to get into the security token ecosystem and have an application that allows them to do that in compliance. But if you are registered with one of your local broker-dealer, and we can ensure compliance through the application, through the app, through your BnkToTheFuture identity, then it also means that you can use that registration in order to gain access to a much wider pool of investment products outside of BnkToTheFuture. So securities tokens might touch every single financial product or every different product in the world in the future. By being registered with a local broker dealer, it means that you can onboard using your BnkToTheFuture identity compliantly in your jurisdiction into a much wider pool of products, especially as we try and get more adoption for BnkToTheFuture identity integrated into different services. So thank you very much for that question. If you've got more questions, do leave them below. Use the live chat, use the comments if you're watching the recording, tweet us, #BFLive, head over to our Telegram, BF_token, or comment on our Facebook video, and we will endeavor to get those answered next week as we go through. And also do let us know what topics you'd like us to cover, what you'd like to be the main topic next week and in any other future episodes. And please do like, share, retweet, and subscribe so that you get the notifications every time we go live on YouTube. Hit that bell symbol and YouTube will email you each and every time. We'll be looking for a different location next week, but you've got a little sneak peek of the studio before it's actually built. And that's going to do it for episode 23 of Bank to the Future Live. Thank you. Over and out.